legendary forge, where the Arch-Illager builds monstrous machines that devastate the villages of the overworld. He must be stopped. Strike with everything you've got and raise this forge to ruins.
Ooh, look at that.
Let's say the owner is anti-gay, but the employees are pro-gay. You can fault the store?
The weird thing
Yeah.
is, would they even hire them to begin with? There are definitely people that are discriminated against.
Well, I mean,
even
like,
in
it would be
hiring.
like a company hiring me. A straight guy that is vehemently, you know...
Not everyone has the luxury
I don't
of...
like the word pro-gay, mainly because it sounds like that's a stance to have.
Do you support people being able to love whom they choose?
Yeah. And, ooh,
So
okay, I
long
like
as-
this.
So long as it's not underage people, animals,
But yeah.
a whole host of things.
From my-
There are stipulations.
From my
but-
perspective, I absolutely would avoid a store because I know their owners are bad people. Why not? Why do they deserve my business? Just because the employees are doesn't mean that they are the primary people profiting from my business, for starters. And also, like, again, I have a billion other
Also,
options.
it's-
And a lot of these employees, as hard as it is,
And I know that there are a lot of people getting defensive in the chat. We're not saying that you're a bad person if you decide that you still want to eat out of one place or another. It's just that for us personally,
yeah.
it's one of those things where in our good conscience, we wouldn't want to support that.
Yeah. And I generally would encourage people to... I'm gonna say, I wish more people thought about their morality in terms of this, because it's so easy to get away with bad things. Ow. Gosh. This one has a little bit more HP.
Yep.
Unfortunately, melee combat in this game is a little brutal.
Can I go past it? How do I go past it? Ah.
He's really fast.
And the problem is, I do not know if I
Yeah,
can escape this.
he is really fast.
And we have such a narrow
really
passage to go
freaking
down.
chunky. Ah! Dang it! Come on! I hit the dodge roll button to, like, avoid, and what ended up happening was... Oh. This is actually a good time to hit him. Ow. No, it's not.
Ow!
Got him.
Woof. Well,
He
then.
dropped TNT. That was pleasant. That mid-boss was a little too chunky for my tastes. But no, like... I guess I just feel like a lot of... Shell,
What?
why?
Like, why didn't...
It has a big glowing circle.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say, like, we have so many options. Why just go with the easy option of, say, like,
If you've ever heard the term being an educated consumer, that's essentially what this is about.
Yeah. Easiest example, I mean, recently is... here's one. This is maybe a little bit too hyperbolic, but I made a shirt 2 years ago, and it got stolen immediately and posted back on Amazon.
Tons of sites, but you originally had your own listing on Amazon, but very swiftly, ton of copycats even put up their own versions of the shirt on Amazon. It was ridiculous.
It was constant.
And I had to deal with all the
Yeah,
DMCAs
and so
regarding it.
from this perspective, for most people, who gives a shit? It's a shirt. And the answer is, yeah, but like...
But you can get the shirt from the creator of the shirt, or you can get the shirt from some thief.
Yeah. And so, like, this kind of clued us into this industry of constant IP thefts. And the wild thing is, like, Shell specifically, you can get the arrows. Shell specifically has been ogling this one site. It's an Etsy store filled with fake magic cards, which is like, I think Magic specifically is like, no, you can't do this.
Yeah,
but they
Magic
don't,
specifically forbids you from selling cards.
but
Well,
they don't
like
police
not
it
selling-
particularly well.
Like selling their own cards.
You got to get a
Proxies,
little
as they
closer to
call
me when
them.
we're heading down, by the way.
Like, obviously, stores can sell cards that they've opened up from packs and stuff, but no, like,
We can get in that door in a
user-generated cards. And the thing is, this person has stolen a bunch of artwork from people on DeviantArt and such, and is just selling cards at $4 a piece with other people's artwork on them and the text from the Magic cards on them. And people are buying them in the thousands.
Yep.
And it is just disgusting. And I've tried reaching out to artists that I recognize from various cards, and some of them have sent reports, but it just doesn't seem to be enough. And it's just, I even reached out to Wizards. We'll have to see what happens.
Probably they will not.
But, yeah. I mean, it depends. It depends on how much they're making and cutting into their business, but
See, if you're rich, you'd make these choices. I mean, it also really depends on, like, what we're talking about here. But, what's a good example? There are a number. But I think there's still a lot of things where you can still make an educated choice within your price range. That you don't always have to just pick the lesser of the options. So I brought up Walmart. I don't like Walmart, but they're not as bad as, like, a number of other companies out there. Yeah, watch out for this. This is messy.
yeah, it is. Oh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, I don't like this. I would almost rather find a way to bring them into our turf.
Unfortunately, the one guy might drop explosive
Oh, yep,
killers,
right there.
so we have to worry about that a little bit. And so, no, I do sympathize with the fact that it can be more expensive to do this sort of thing. But from my perspective, it's not as expensive as you would think. And there's a lot of expenditures that can also be kind of cut here and there. That would kind of surprise you to afford it. It's weird that not as bad as Amazon has become a benchmark now, which is hilarious and kind of sad. But no, I get it. Like, stuff is expensive. You can't just spring for the moral choice always.
At the same time, there's the unfortunate fact that often it's the cheap things that don't last, and people end up spending more replacing the cheap items than if they had gotten a slightly better item that was a little bit more costly that lasts longer.
Well, if the cards clearly look different from the original, meaning they can't be sold, I feel like it's okay.
What, with other people's artwork on them?
Yeah, so
No.
I'm going to say this. These fake card shops are stealing art from the artists. They're not paying, they're not paying anybody. They're just
And they're
going
not
to
even
DeviantArt, finding a dragon
stealing the artwork
picture.
from the Magic cards. They're stealing the artwork from randos online. Imagine if you drew your D&D character and they ended up on one of these cards and someone was selling them.
Yeah. And so, in that one, it's like, oh, yeah, I want to get this amazing-looking Magic card that is clearly using, like, stolen stuff. And, maybe you don't know. Holy crap, Ricochet Reflection is insane. Like, yeah, I can see the mental justification a person could go through being like, yeah,
But they
pay
don't think of
$4
the
to get,
people
like,
they're
an amazing
hurting.
card from this fake
It's just
shop.
selfishness. They don't think of the people that they're hurting.
And I know a lot of people think of art theft as a victimless crime. Ow. Wow, I avoided 2 explosions in one go. Whoop! Speaking of...
Oh, wow. Oh, your field, it
Mitigated
disguised
it.
it in a way.
Yeah. But yeah, we've had this argument a couple of times recently where people are just like, but it doesn't hurt anyone. And it's like, the answer is actually it does. Sort of.
Yeah, I've spent half a year sending out hundreds of DMCAs, and guess what? I practically lost all inclination to make new artwork. It got
is
so
not
bad.
fun. Like, imagine if every time... what's a good
Every
example?
time you released a new piece, imagine if there are just some...
Let's put it into more common terms.
Okay.
Say you got a garden outside, and every time you have
You
like
planted it.
Yeah, you planted the garden. You spent all the time.
Squirrels take your tomatoes.
Yeah, squirrels take your tomatoes. After a certain point.
Oh, actually, no. Your neighbor takes your tomatoes and is selling them at the local market.
Yeah, there we go. So you got a cute little garden. You love it. You put a lot of work into it. Wow, I almost died. And then yeah, you just go to the local farmer's market and there's your neighbor with your tomatoes. You can tell because he doesn't have tomatoes, and he's got the same amount of tomatoes that are missing, and you can recognize him. You've been growing them.
Yeah, you've been putting your time and your energy and your money into making that garden. And
Oh, we gotta go the other way for a second.
growing those tomatoes, and they just took them and get to profit from them.
And then when you confront them on it, they're like, well, you weren't going to sell them anyway. And it's like, yeah, but they're my tomatoes.
Oh, well, actually, guys, these cards aren't even being advertised as real cards.
Yeah, they're just fake cards, but it's
People
like,
use them so that they don't damage their real cards in games, but the fact that they're using people's artwork, I mean, really, selling them in general is technically illegal, because Wizards of the Coast doesn't want you producing these cards for sale. Like, I think they do on their terms of service allow you, if you don't want to use your real cards and damage them, you can kind of make a printout or something and put them in a card sleeve and say, hey, I legally own this card, but I just don't want it to get damaged while playing with it. Then sure, at least you purchase the real card first and you're not selling the little fake cards that you're using. But no, this shop was selling fake cards with all of the same stats and stuff as like the normal cards, but with artwork that belonged to other people, not even affiliated with Wizards of the Coast. Because with
holy crap, you have 1,000 arrows.
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast. No. I have 240.
Oh,
arrows.
you have gems. I keep looking at the.
Yeah, I looked at the gems ones too.
Watch it. These explode.
Whoa!
Yeah, so just stay out of the lanes when I'm setting them off. Let's see. Your wife wanted to buy a phone case. Normally it's 15 to 20 bucks, but you can get it for $4.50.
What does it have on it is my
Yeah,
question, because
so-
I've had people steal my artwork for phone cases. You need to reverse image search phone cases and
Well, say it's identical to the say it's perfectly identical to the it's just a black phone case, but it's just sourced
okay. Well,
out
if it's like just a plain phone case, sure. But there are so many
pig.
things. What? Pig.
The one thing
Anything
with that
with artwork on it is
Yeah.
questionable.
you
because-
always like your desire to save money is. I told ya.
Oh, I didn't know it blasted like that.
It just did that in front of you earlier. I was like, yeah, it just does it in that manner, and you're like, stand and wait, yes.
Okay, now I know.
So you're fine.
But sorry, we've been talking about artifact. You've gotten me distracted.
It's true. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm just gonna explode. We're just gonna shoot this guy. Melee can happen elsewhere. Get stuck on the. Yes. Okay. Just stay there.
Oh yeah, he's stuck. Cheese.
And he just hangs
Even
on it
died
like a
on it.
sad man. I got another saber wing. Well, sure. But no, the one thing I'd actually say with a lot of knockoff products is you don't know what's in them.
Oh yeah, there's tons of like bad chemicals and such. I think there was a documentary I'd watched about people buying makeup off of Amazon.
Makeup is bad.
And how a lot of it was just fake.
Yeah,
stuff that
freaking knockoff cheap makeup.
that was giving people chemical burns.
Chemical burns because it's got
them.
like asbestos and all sorts of junk in it because they're not getting it from a
Oh yeah, they're
reputable-
finding out that eyeshadow has tons of asbestos if it's made in various, shady Chinese factories and whatnot.
Not necessarily always Chinese, but yeah.
Unfortunately, that's where all the stuff that was stolen to make various objects for my stuff was. That was where it was being made.
And so it's like, I get the idea of trying to cut costs for cheaper things, but you gotta be careful.
You don't know what's in them. Also, the print quality is going to be terrible. I always upload my pieces at fairly low res, and usually with my signatures and stuff on them. But
the other thing I kind of have run into, and I realize a lot of this is very much like...
Do you want to support the thieves, or do you want to support the artist?
Watch it, this is going to explode. Well, it's not even that, though. Oops, I guess I was...
Because by supporting...
You gotta pick... Oh, wait, no, I'm alive.
Yeah.
How am I alive?
Because by supporting the thieves, you are...
Well, it's...
taking money... You're not taking money away from the artist, but you're preventing the artist from being able to...
It's not even the artist, though. It could be anything. Like, okay. Say... Don't stand in the way. Say if you could buy a Game Boy for... Well, Game Boy. Nintendo Switch. $300. Or you can buy the knockoff Nintendo Switch for $50. They play the same. They work just about the same. The knockoff is, like, maybe slightly worse. The problem is, too many people do that. After a certain point, Nintendo says, okay, no more Nintendo Switches. It's not worth it for us anymore.
But watch the other product be, like, have a very short shelf life and die on you.
Watch. Well, okay. Yeah.
Like, it's good at the start.
Or they, you know, Nintendo has stopped making the Switch, but this company has managed to get enough money, but, oh, yeah, they're... Oh, we got one more over here.
Oh, I'm at low health. I need to get up there.
Watch out for the explosive. Alright, that should be it. We're good to go.
But that's the thing. I've seen too many people try to justify art theft and stuff, and it all boils down to what benefits me the most.
And I think
they don't think of other people. They don't think of the artists that are being impacted.
Well, it's like I can understand the perspective of like not having the choice or like having to pinch pennies that much, because like in a lot of cases people do not have that profit margin. The thing that's just stuck in my head always is just like, if this mentality sticks around for too long and if too many people have it, it starts like
it snowballs, and then...
Well, it's part of the reason why Amazon is such a... Like, art theft aside, I don't know how many of you guys have, like, looked up... how many people looked up toilet paper on Amazon a couple months ago?
All the price gougers?
Well, it wasn't just price gougers. It was, like, fake bounty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, straight up major brands that had, like, fake versions. I was looking up Rode microphones before PAX West. Shell, you were getting too far away from me and you were going to screw me over.
Okay, sorry.
Because I get it that you don't have anything immediately to fight, but if I'm in the middle of battle, don't drag me off screen.
It's kind of weird how you tell me not to get on art theft tangents and a bunch of other things. And
Well, we started with the I refuse to watch anime if it's made by a bad person.
And then about supporting businesses. That,
yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, whoops. I guess it all boils down to the same, it's like, the phrase buy local. And you always kind of want to do that if you can. Not necessarily because you need to, but it's because if you don't, then the business just goes elsewhere and never comes back. What's a good example? I mean, farming to some degree. I come from a farming family that does not farm anymore. Oh, you actually needed that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were running low. Or, you know, buy from developers instead of pirating it. Or why buying...
Well, yeah, I was very anti-pirating anything, which is why I was so dismayed when I found out that Wander had played games or watched movies.
Yeah, and at the time I justified it. And I think I still kind of understand why I justified it. You know, pirating a game when I was a kid, it made sense. I was poor as dirt. I didn't have much of an income. And so...
there is some guy that's stuck in there.
It's okay, I'll solve him.
Prevented me from firing on that. Ooh. That's not good.
But yeah, so when I was young, it was easy to justify piracy because I was actually able to play games and, you know, wasn't hurting anybody. And you know what? I think that was kind of okay.
At the same time, my parents would never do anything of the sort, and I always bought official things.
Yeah, and I think it works in both directions. But for me, once I became older and could actually afford stuff, that was when it was important
You
for
actually
me.
made it a point to buy
All of them.
most of the stuff.
So if you're broke, it's okay. Oh, shoot. This guy is
No.
gonna...
Oh my gosh, what happened?
He put up 4 pillars, and then
Where
I
is
rolled
he?
into
I
the
didn't
lava.
even see him.
Yeah.
No. No, you don't want to justify
It's...
pirating.
Yeah, it's this jerk right there. No. But from my perspective, it was like, well, I did it, and it wasn't okay, but I did it at the time. Now I'm gonna make up for it by buying it. And I think that's at least a defensible place. But every once in a while I run into somebody that's like, game's too expensive, I just pirated it anyway. I ain't never paying for this. It's like, well, that's not good for the industry.
But it's a very slippery slope, because then that could easily justify people, you know, buying the fake magic cards and hurting artists in the process and stuff.
You have to be careful. I guess let's loop back to the beginning thing.
Because if you don't support the things you love, the things you love are gonna die out.
Yeah, Maneater chat had a lot of that going on. So Maneater was a $40 game that took 10 hours to beat. 100%. And there were a lot of people that were legit mad because that's too expensive. What is your... you should grab those arrows. Shell?
Sorry, I'm just really disturbed.
Grab the arrows.
I think I don't want to be talking about this anymore, because there are so many people that are just like, oh, I'd buy that art anyway.
I mean, I'm gonna say this. This goes back to my thing. That is an evil mindset. Sure, it's not as evil as, like, I drown babies, but, like, that's a soundbite for somebody. But it's still, it's a small evil. And I think that's kind of something important.
Ow.
Well,
What?
bye.
Oh no, they really didn't do this. Make yourself far enough away so I have
I'm
to.
trying.
So that I have to. Okay.
Gotcha.
There.
But this is something that I specifically have been thinking about this more often, I guess, is what are evil mindsets that I can...
Discarded.
What are evil mindsets that I can specifically watch out?
Oh, that only.
What are evil mindsets that I can cut out? What are small evils that I can cut out of my own life? That, you know, aren't difficult. And you know, there are certain things that are gonna be hard. I'm gonna set this off. He's right in line. Because that does a decent chunk to him.
I don't know if can I kill these without hurting myself?
Yeah, you can kill him.
Okay.
They are also giving you some amount of souls. Not as much as you'd like.
I don't know who I'm hitting or what I'm hitting.
Let's see. What's an easy one? Well, I mean, kind of easy-ish one. We were on a road trip a while back, and we saw a bunch of chickens crammed into a cage in a truck. It was open air, it was pretty cold, and the chickens looked miserable. We only saw them for a couple of seconds, but...
That is one thing I will always have some difficulties with growing up eating meat and still loving the taste of meat, but realizing that it's perpetuating an industry that harms an awful lot of people and an awful lot of animals and the environment. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, and so, like, seeing those
And
chickens
I
in
can
that
do
truck
something
was
about it.
kind of horrifying. And so I thought to myself, like, okay, well, it's going to be hard to verify this, but I will always spend a couple extra bucks to buy a chicken that I know didn't have the worst life. Am I good at it? No. It's actually pretty hard to make sure that I'm always buying, you know, meat that is at least somewhat ethical. But I try anyway. And it costs me very little to have that level of self-satisfaction of saying, you know, I'm doing the right thing, even if it costs me a little bit more. So what if there's the availability to buy in your country to buy legally? I mean, that's an entirely different can of worms that I'm not sure if I can really accurately talk about. I am totally out of arrows. I think that is something that almost... Yeah, I'm gonna wash my hands on that one. I can't really say. Well, for example, certain games just aren't available in countries. Australia, for example, has some weird limitations and will often just outright ban a game for some reason. Mother 3. Oh yeah, that's a decent example. There are a number of Japanese games and products. Well, okay,
that have never been released in the United States, you mean?
Yeah. And might be soon. In the case of the Mother games, they had something about Mother recently.
The fiery forge is destroyed. The war machines of the Illagers have been smashed.
Let's see. Did we get anything interesting? So, you know, I don't know on that one. I feel like... I feel like the most defensible thing in the case of Mother is play it and then buy it as soon as it becomes actually available. I've done that before, a number of times. You should buy some stuff. I know you've got pretty much everything you could possibly want.
It's difficult when one thing can only be purchased at a time.
Not that difficult. What is this? This is the gravity well. I don't think I really care about the rest of these. Is this all garbage? As for me it is. I really wish I could share some of these. But even then, like, I would say there are so many other video games out there that, like, you don't actually have to play a game that is not available in your country until it
Someone
becomes
brought up a good point about ignorance.
available.
A lot of people excuse their actions because of ignorance to the issues at hand, but once they become aware of it, to willfully ignore it is to
tacitly approve it.
To tacitly approve of it. So in the case of the internet merch, you know, having talked about it and how it hurts artists like myself and such, you know, some people might accidentally purchase a thing of like Wander's or mine on unofficial stuff. And what I would ask is that if people see it and realize that it's not mine and such, because, you know, you can reverse image search stuff and find the original artists easily nowadays. There are tools for that. You know, reach out to the artist and say, hey guys, or hey, I saw your art for sale here. Is it yours? Like, did you put it up for sale? And if the artist says, no, that's not my shirt or that's not my work, you know, thanks for warning me about this. I'll get it taken down immediately. Like, that will help the artist out immensely. And if you wanted the like shirt for yourself, like in the process kind of tell them, hey, you know, I really like the art, you know, would it be possible in the future for you to offer it as such and such? And they might never be able to, but it's one of those things where you're not supporting the wrong people and you're not supporting the thieves. And you're not, because by supporting the thieves, you're perpetuating their ability to steal from other people and continue the cycle of suffering. And preventing artists from being able to make money off of their work and maybe even stop creating art altogether. Like, those are the consequences. And when people are so short-sighted that they think of only the benefit in the immediate moment to them, regardless of the harm it does to others, like, that is, I think that is pretty much what separates a villain from a hero in most cases.
Yeah. You also have to realize both Shell and I are very obsessed with, like, being good people. Almost, like, overwhelmingly so. And so, like, we might honestly espouse... You might want to decide on this one.
What
Maybe
am I doing?
try it. Why don't we just go into the next mission? Don't equip it, but like don't get rid of your last one. I feel like this one doesn't have as good of abilities, but I want to see if the twin shot is actually better.
20% chance to create a circular area, so that's the same as your thing.
Yeah, so if you were to go with this, I'd say rapid fire and piercing would probably be the best. Either that or the
I don't know.
Let's see. But how do you know if you're being a good person? Honestly, in most cases,
what you're doing doesn't harm someone else.
Yeah, that's usually it.
That is the major tenant.
I will straight up say, I actively self-critique and self-evaluate. And here, you want to close out of this menu? If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. I was just going to say equip it and try it.
I just really like it. What I have currently.
Okay, sure. Is that everything? Yeah, actually, that is everything. New area. Exciting.
Well, we really need to decide to... I mean, do you want to just talk about the nature of good and evil?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, why don't we do that? Enough about the art theft
Yeah.
and merchandise and
Let's
stuff.
talk
Just
about
good and evil.